And welcome to the Raw Review. We are the Dadley Boyz of What Culture. I'm Adam Wilborn, joined by Michael Hamflett and Michael Sidgwick, here to review everything that happened on last night's episode of Now Raw. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube, where we do daily wrestling podcasts where we not only review Raw, but also SmackDown, the show formerly known as NXT 2.0. AEW Dynamite, AEW Collision, pay-per-views, premium live events. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week complete. A little bit of a quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, though, joined by Hamflett and Sidgwick to review last night's Raw. What do you think of it?
I'm buzzed that the power's back. Less chuffed that so too is this weird taping cycle that we're going to get trapped in.
Oh, yeah.
I am not criticising WWE for the first time ever giving wrestlers extended breaks.
You were in the office,
Maybe I'm a little bit...
We're doing that now, are we?
Yeah. Yeah, I am a little bit critical of it. It's completely selfish. Obviously, they're getting Thanksgiving off for the first time. They're going to have the best Christmas schedule they probably ever had.
Yeah.
The Madison Square Garden date in between something like a 10-day break. So we're going through like multiple periods of taped shows, and it's absolutely for the right cause. And theoretically, it reduces injuries, though some wrestlers disagree with that. But broadly speaking, it's a better culture as well, which, you know, we're always like shooting for ultimately. But yeah, I like this Raw, but the problem is not with some of the stuff being spoiled the next week, or because you can avoid stuff and, you know, it's not too bad, and it hasn't completely killed the momentum of some of the big stories, but you can see, and I certainly could from watching this episode, things they had to hold back on.
Yeah.
Like things that, because you're doing two shows in a night, it's like, well, this wrestler can't wrestle here, or this plot development has to be held back on because you're going to do something, and it's like, well, really, what can you give away on a taped one? So it always feels like they're, at the moment, they're navigating around that, and I just find it a bit frustrating as I'm watching a thing and enjoying it, and then sort of reminded in little ways that things getting put in the can later on.
It's almost as though we just shouldn't bother with a Raw preview next week and maybe do something different.
Or even special.
Ooh.
Special.
What do you think of this show, Sidge?
Damien, I thought it was pretty rubbish, man. Seriously, like...
Yeah, it's absolutely deadly seriously. I thought this was like really, really good.
There's one thing I know you will have liked. I guarantee it.
There's an angle that really fell flat in quite a humiliating way. There was not a single standout match on this show, if you actually like pro wrestling. And there was one sort of... I don't know, interaction between two characters where I'm like, are we doing this already? And then there was just a lot of stuff that just feels familiar that I wasn't energized by in the first place. Am I doing retreads? I just was, you know, I'm not the biggest fan of it generally.
I'll give you the standout match one. There was nothing on in-ring last night that was...
I thought this is particularly bad. Some stuff that happens on Raw where I'm like, sometimes I've surprised myself by how much I've enjoyed certain things, and that's I'm trying to, you know, state my case. There's a way to bury WWE correctly. I thought Jey Uso versus Bron Breakker was fantastic. I love the Bronson Reed versus Strowman program. There's been a lot of stuff on Raw this year that I thought was really strong. Not a bit of it on last night's show. I thought it was real drab.
I really enjoyed this show, but I don't know whether it was a hangover of not being able to express my love for SmackDown last week.
Jesus Christ.
SmackDown's...
Express my love for SmackDown.
It's just, honestly.
Do it on Twitter and then be quiet?
No, I can't be bothered on there.
SmackDown's been better than Raw of late, and that hasn't happened in a while. Consistently, I would say. I think SmackDown's had the edge.
But I think this served a purpose in terms of getting me excited for various things at Survivor Series. And, well, one thing that I just was so happy about, and I think
Yeah.
There's praise with the criticism here. Yet again, I'm quite... Impressed isn't the word. I just liked how they've folded together enough stuff for two WarGames matches, even though I don't really want two WarGames matches.
Same.
And they are getting very, very lazy with what used to be quite a good detail of like when the general managers would get cross when people were just crossing over. That's just been thrown out of late. And I don't like that because it was a simple thing to, like, all it ever takes is a phone call, skit, or a little vignette where they've agreed this, and then when like a wrestler flouts the agreement, then they get fined, or I said you could do this, but I didn't expect you to bring them with you, whatever. I don't mind. That's all I need. My standards aren't that high for that sort of thing, but they've pretty much just blown through that in the interest of building up these WarGames matches. I don't like that, and I don't think there's necessarily the need for two WarGames matches, though, as we talked about with the US title. Parity is a good thing.
Yes.
Even though I think it's yet again kind of at the expense of the pay-per-view a little bit, because I just don't think the shows yet have proven themselves. Like they've just not proven necessary ultimately. I can't remember a time where, maybe other than the one I was very lucky to be at, so there's a live bias, where the 2 War Games matches were both entertaining, independent of one another.
The thing on that is, if you're a fan of women's wrestling, or you yourself or a woman, it must be pretty like yet another insult.
Yeah,
in a lifetime of insults. Go, all right, okay, well, the men, the bloodline's more important. Let's just not do. The answer is, you could book something significant for the women's division on a different PLE that isn't calendar specific, like a mandate of you must do this gimmick match at this time of year. One WWE War Games match is enough. I don't even like Blood and Guts either. The New Japan one earlier this year followed the exact same plunder excess formula. So I already think one War Games match is enough. But we try to be careful on this podcast. We do of like, don't do another one because the women get so little as it is.
Tell stories that are worthy of maintenance.
Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want to caveat. I do want to caveat by saying they could do something that isn't mandated, that just happens to be organic and well booked and well plotted, and then I don't know, you could do like a TV special or like I don't know, like a different PLE that doesn't have to be fixed by the calendar. You know,
To Evolution.
Well, I think that it feels to me like that's where NXT might be. You know, they'd pinch titles and then make them their own.
Great American Bash.
The sheer volume and quantity, if not necessarily quality at the moment in NXT, makes me think they might be leading towards taking that Evolution title and doing Evolution 2 themselves as a kind of almost a capper to this period where they've just said, they're telling you every week, we've got the best, we've got the biggest, like it's stacked, we're bringing in people from other companies like Jordan Grace. That feels like that's where that's going. But I think like Bash at Berlin is evidence. I know it was a mixed tag, but the money was in Rhea and Liv, and it always had been over the summer. I stole the show. Like you can tell stories where you can put a match in the middle. I'm thinking of something like, I loved a lot of 2023, but like the story was dump, and then Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus stole payback in that cage match. There are times where the match or the story, or ideally a combination of both, justifies its spot, but it does not feel like a Triple H thing. So as a result, what you get is, again, I quite like the overlapping with the women's division here. It was just like that. I thought we were actually just going to be patient with the War Games thing and just do the one, and then it was made pretty clear how it's going to be 2. So.
But the show opened with the World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther, coming out. He obviously gets booed, and he's lost at Crown Jewel, obviously, but he says, all that matters is I'm still the World Heavyweight Champion. He's not living in the past. He's looking ahead to his next challenger, Damien Priest, who interrupts him wearing a Bad Bunny T-shirt. And he said, look, we all knew you were coming out here to talk about me, so I wanted to be here in person to hear it. But he basically then cut Gunther's promo for him, saying, what are you going to say? You're going to call me street trash, call me a Latino thug? Look, I'll admit the first time we came face-to-face, I felt doubt. I wasn't sure if I could beat you at SummerSlam. But if it wasn't for my former brother, Finn Balor, I would have beaten you. Since SummerSlam, though, your vibe as a killer has faded. You've started doubting yourself, Gunther. And that's even more so after you lost to Cody Rhodes at Crown Jewel. Priest says he saw doubt in Gunther. The unbeatable killer's dead, he said. And I know that because the old Gunther would have already taken a swing at me by now. Take a swing, bro. But you're not going to do it because I'll drop your ass right now. But he's interrupted by Ludwig, Kaiser, who says, oh, dare you disrespect him. The result's going to be exactly the same. This man's beaten you already. Listen, he says, I've got some advice for you. Get out of this ring right now. Save yourself. The second time you step in, the result's going to be exactly the same. You're not even worth... Gunther puts his hand across the microphone and chastises Ludwig. But he says, no, Gunther, I will not let this street trash talk about you like that. He gets dropped by a Damian Priest right hand, gets clotheslined to the outside. It seems like Gunther's going to attack Damian Priest from behind, but he sort of hesitates. And then when Damian Priest spins around to face him, he sort of backs away. He's lost his bottle a little bit.
I like this a lot. I called for it on the preview yesterday. I think they've found a way, and it's quite a unique one with a character like Gunther to be able to sort of express his vulnerability. And it was better than I thought it was going to be because they had Damian Priest do it instead of Gunther himself.
Yeah.
The nature of the match they had at SummerSlam mixed in with how they told the Gunther-Sami rematch story and then Gunther losing to Cody did sort of create this cocktail for how you could book this match, and I think they've done it ultimately. Damian Priest, let's be honest, is not a credible challenger for Gunther, really. Like, you can buy into some fiction for a night, but bigger picture, he's not beating Gunther at this pay-per-view. It's one of them title stories where they've got a job on to try and sell you that. So instead, they're going to tell you a story of Gunther's potential weakness being his undoing. That's not going to help Damian Priest. You're not going to go into the Royal Rumble thinking, well, he ran Gunther so close. Sorry, that ship has sailed. Yeah. I like Damian Priest, and that specific ship has sailed. So instead, you kind of like do a bit of a character study of Gunther instead. He will win at the Survivor Series, but what is he starting to lose along the way? What chinks are in his armor at long last, now that he's suffered a couple of defeats and high-profile ones at that? They really, really make the most of his defeats. And it tends to be, so far, that there is then this significant growth in the character as a result. You've had that with Sami Zayn, so you can assume that off the back of his victory over Damian Priest, he will kind of then be more confident and cocksure than ever before, which then might be his undoing against his next opponent. That could be something like a CM Punk, and that's the last thing he would want, is to think he's got it all covered when he's going against this guy that he's maybe not ready for, or something like that. So, yeah, ultimately, this was asked and answered for me. This would be the way I would choose to tell this story. And I think it's just because you've kind of compared it to a Royal Rumble style title match, it's probably the right show to do it on as well. I enjoyed this.
I was quite impressed, but not remotely convinced by this, if that makes any sense. Like, Damian Priest is a shoddy big match wrestler. Damian Priest is not winning this big match against Gunther. I've already seen this evidenced by the SummerSlam match, which I didn't really think was a great standout. It's got a lot working against it. It just feels like the B plot to the A plot of WarGames, something I'm not necessarily interested in. So I had zero hope for this. I was reminded, however, during Priest's promo that even though I just didn't think much of the match at all at SummerSlam, and I just don't really like Damian Priest in that big match singles context, he's got a good promo in him, and I really like that dynamic and the contrast with Gunther. I thought they told a good story heading into SummerSlam if they didn't really execute the match. But I was reminded of that with their verbal interplay here, and I need to put over Gunther's absolutely ingenious facial expressions. He's just fantastic at what he does. Like, he almost, I was like, you son of a bitch, you almost got me. You got me in the first half, I'm not going to lie. I've temporarily, lost sense of, oh yeah, no, this match isn't that good. And I don't believe that you're scared of him, but you're such a good performer all rounder. Absolutely, an absolute masterstroke, the way that they've developed this character. And the performance just completely levels up to it. I almost got me.
Kathy Kelly's backstage with Io Sky and Kairi Sane. She congratulates Io on becoming Liv's new challenger. And they start talking about that when Dakota Kai returns. Fantastic to see her back. She's missed them, but she's
in the backstage segment.
Yeah,
I do not trust it to get the pop.
No. I thought it was a bit off. She's missed them, but she's pissed off at PFC. They took 3 months off her career. But as long as she's got these girls, nothing can keep her down. More on them in a while. But then, Jesus, copy-paste. More problems for the New Day. Kofi Kingston's backstage with R-Truth, and he thanked them for his help the other week. But says, sorry about not helping you against Final Testament. Xavier said we shouldn't get involved, but I thought we should have done. Woods is there in the background. He overhears this, interrupts. He's wearing a Baron Corbin T-shirt. But before,
he was always for the boys, Woods.
Yeah.
I remember him helping when people were on the bubble in NXT. He would sit with them and try and come up with ideas. I think Tyler Breeze said they pretty much workshopped his entire persona together. He could make videos and stuff, so he was always there for them to help.
It also works sort of quite nicely with all this, because his argument is stop helping other people, always look out for yourself. And he can argue Baron Corbin started looking out for other people, and now he's gone. Yeah. But yeah, Pete Dunne.
Trivialise it, mate.
Pete Dunne, yeah.
He's gone.
Pete Dunne.
Got released from the contract, even though WWE's a family, apparently.
Hopefully.
Do you sign a contract with your family?
No.
Because it's a family.
Yeah.
Not a corporation.
It's a contract forever.
So you did sign a contract?
Well, emotionally, I suppose.
I suppose.
Pete Dunne interrupts. He's pissed off with R-Truth calling him Butch the other week. But Kofi steps in and says, look, if you're looking for a bare knuckle fight, you'll get one, mate. Woods says, this isn't our business. And Kofi says, no. Let's have it out. Woods just storms off frustrated. Pete Dunne accepts and leaves. R-Truth warns Kofi, it's not Pete Dunne you got to worry about, it's Butch. The same bloody person, you idiot.
Get to the fireworks factory with this New Day celebration.
Have they set a date?
They said the end of the month.
This month,
on
innit?
Commentary, so it's got to be, because next week's taped, so it's got to be that Survivor Series Go Home show. That's the last one in November. And
you were talking about it in the news yesterday, weren't you?
yeah, like the latest report is that it's going to be like they're possibly on the board for a WrestleMania singles match. The ambiguity around Big E's return obviously makes it more dramatic because whether or not he returns to solve all this, returns as a wrestler or not, there's lots to sort of get excited about, but there's nothing left in this story beyond them just getting to the celebration show and seeing that they've actually never been further apart. I don't need any more weeks of this. Invent a reason for them to fight because we know at least something's happening in a couple of weeks. Like, I still don't want the split. I'd quite like them to subvert the whole thing and just like sort of work through these problems they're having and get themselves back to like winning the tag titles or something, but it does feel increasingly like they want to try the singles match. And I get why, from a career point, especially for Xavier Woods.
Yeah.
Who's never had that singles title or like singles WrestleMania match either. I get why he would want this specifically as a way to test himself, but just personally, I really hope they sort of see it through and end up staying together.
I'll bitch about this when we get to the boring match.
Okay. Before that, it was Dakota Kai.
The other one after this.
Io Sky and Kairi
The one
Sane
involving the New Day.
versus the PFC. Damage Control have the early advantage, but Baszler gets involved, clotheslines Kairi Sane outside the ring behind the referee's back. So they take over during the break. When we come back, Dakota Kai gets the hot tag. She hits Baszler with a running boot, but Baszler dodges a second one and puts her in a single leg crab on the injured leg. Sky flies in to break it up, though, and they all hit moves. Sonya hits a knee to Io. Kairi Sane dives off onto her. Zoe hits a springboard drop kick. Dakota Kai kicks Zoe Stark. Rushes for a corner kick on Shayna, misses. Shayna puts her in the Kirifuda clutch, but she backs her into the corner and Io Sky tags herself in. Baszler puts her into submission, but in the end, Kai boots Baszler. Sky hits a moonsault and gets the 1-2-3 for Damage Control.
I'm going to say this for the second time in 2024, which is a concern. I really enjoyed seeing Dakota Kai back.
Yeah.
Like, I thought there wasn't much to like about this. The kicks she hit looked great. The interactions, especially with Shayna Baszler, I thought were very good. The missed ones made me think of Sidge's missed clothesline thing, where I thought, well, she looked like she wanted to hit that. And obviously there's chemistry with certain wrestlers out there where they know to time all this stuff out well. They're like wrestlers that are like defined by kicks require like certain people to sell those kicks and or miss them for that act to work. If you think of like a Tajiri and a Super Crazy as a sort of, they had chemistry for, well, many reasons, but that was one of them. Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler absolutely have that. So that was good matchmaking, I guess, for Dakota Kai comeback. I think it was Bayley when she had that match on SmackDown as her first one back. So fingers crossed another injury isn't forthcoming.
Go on, just say it, man.
Otherwise, there was absolutely no to this. Like, genuinely, and it was nice to see Dakota Kai. Somebody I like having a good first night back. Otherwise, no to this.
Nice to see it. Nice. And Io Sky rules. This match was just, imagine, right, you know the signature moves of the wrestlers involved in this match, right? You know that signature moves usually get used in every single match. I dare you to piece it together this time next week. Like, I dare you.
Oh, yeah.
This happens so often in wrestling generally, but WWE specifically. It's this weird paradox where you know that these wrestlers have a limited range of moves because it's just not a big moves promotion, right? And you know what these moves are because they do it in every match, and it's roughly in the same order. They're not really intricate twists and turns, and yet the paradox is you still fail to really remember it in your mind's eye. It's just the definition of disposable trash. It's not trash, that's harsh, but it's, it's nothing to me. It means nothing.
They've not got, like I thought that 2023 roster was so strong for that. They've not got a Cody or a Kevin Owens or a Seth Rollins or a Judgment
We got
Day.
Seth Rollins. He's just always been a bit boring, though, hasn't he?
A Judgment Day in those specific tags. There was like several wrestlers at that time. Sami Zayn was another at the time as well, where the matches, I don't need them to like really, especially on TV. I don't need them. I need them to be of a standard to move some storylines forward, to be honest. But you did have both in 2023, and that's been...
But you like good wrestling when it's good. You're weird, you.
I do, but I kind of like... I like WWE structure. It can be forgettable on a Raw and then give me the best stuff on a PLE. If you've built to it to matter the most, then it's always suited me just fine, truthfully. It's almost like I'm seated more for that on a pay-per-view than I'm a Raw. But it did have it at one point as well. And then I think the rosters lost a number of the wrestlers that kind of give you that exact description, actually, of the stuff that, yes, you know that wrestlers go through emotions. That's part of the deal. But it's how they still surprise you or at least entertain you in a moment.
Yeah.
There's not really enough for them on this Raw roster, I don't think.
No.
We get a recap of the whole Bloodline stuff from SmackDown.
Oh my God.
And then Sami and Jay handshake backstage, and in comes Jimmy, and it's all a bit awkward.
Why is it awkward?
Still, there's a lot of water gone under that bridge, Sidge.
He did do that with Jimmy on SmackDown, right as it was going off the air.
Yeah.
Like, executive producer thing just rolling, and it's like...
Sammy did that with Jimmy.
Yeah.
Right, so what's Jimmy's problem now?
He's
No, I think that's a fair question.
he's still not 100% sure.
Contrived, engineered conflict because it just can never end.
I love the Bloodline stuff.
It should end. I hope it ends one day. No, seriously, I hope it ends one day soon.
Then they can release it as a big box set.
Yeah, and I'd never have to watch in my life.
What format?
Any and
not
every.
deep.
Maybe they could put it. Maybe you know what? They could probably put it in the Criterion collection, the Bloodline Saga
Good take, Sitch.
remastered. Maybe in like what's it, 16mm film, like the 35mm. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, but where are they going to air it?
So,
It was rubbish, man.
Sami compliments Jimmy though. Says he likes his chain. Jimmy tries but can't really bring himself to do anything. And Jimmy says they need a 5th member for WarGames. Jay admits that they don't really have any friends on Mondays or Fridays. Sami agrees that they need a 5th, and he might know someone. Jimmy asks who it is, and Sami says, "Don't worry." And Sami leaves. And Jay tells his brother, "Come on, be nice."
You talk about this and I'll bitch.
Loved it more elsewhere in the show. What was my favourite thing about 2023 Raw? Jey Uso's got no friends. They're copying their own homework. Everybody hates Roman. Like, people have just about...
That's good.
I love it. People have just about made friends with Jay. Sami Zayn, universally beloved, so can at least get people's ear. Jimmy's patter. Like, so they can make the peace with having a tag team with Jimmy Uso. It was tremendous in how it, like, was kind of the making of Jey Uso in 2023, like, before this next level he's found this year. But it also, like, look what it spun out and created, ultimately, for Raw and for the various roster members that benefited, Drew McIntyre especially. This is like a much more scaled down version because it's just for the benefit of this one PLE, really. But Roman has people detesting him even more than Jey Uso ever did. They knew that Jey Uso was a henchman doing somebody else's dirty work. That was why they were pissed off with him. Roman, that's different gravy, innit?
Yeah.
So that as a storyline device for tonight and presumably where it's going to go, love it.
Don't love it. I just don't understand what I do understand. It's this incessant need, this ingrained need to sort of keep this inner turmoil within the bloodline and the bloodlines or whatever ticking along because we need this. This is our cash cow. It's the most important thing. They are terrified of ending it. If this ends, they actually have to do some real work. I'm not saying they don't. I'm not saying that it's just this thing that saves the entire company, but they are terrified of ending this. It could have really ended at WrestleMania 40. They've done a very good job, really, with the new bloodline of prolonging the lifespan of all of this. But you when you just see this naked attempt to just keep this ticking over, I'm like, for fuck, I'm still doing this. Like, you were literally standing in the ring on SmackDown in a display of unity, all putting the ones up, and you're all on the same page, united front against the new bloodline. But the original bloodline, there's still tension there. It's there. They did the handshake. I just thought, fuck that. I will say that the way they've gone about the fifth man on the respective teams, really intriguing. Really good stuff. You can have conversations, you can have debate. It's a good episodic hook. Why does it have to be 5? That just sort of like underscores the idea that this is a calendar first match that has to happen. Why can't there be 4? They've done 4 in the past.
They created the narrative reason for that because Solo thought Sami was in. So he thought, well, I've got a team of 5.
Right,
I've got
okay.
to find 4 mates.
But then they could just say that.
I know why it's really happening.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that's
Okay.
Solo's arrogance that's brought him to the situation where he now needs a partner as well. I think.
I really like the way this. I mean, I love the bloodline stuff, obviously. So
I hope it
biased,
ends, mate.
But I like the way.
What will they do?
It'll be fine. All of this only works because, like, I go back to this. This is show Bible stuff at this point. It's known characters, prior links, and it's known all the relationships. Like Seth Rollins' promo
last week's Bible.
Seth Rollins' promo here was later on was along the lines of, like, we got the belt off him at WrestleMania. I kind of gave my life for that, and we did it. That's to your argument. In a year's time, it's like.
No, I understand the Seth stuff, but I'm talking specifically about the Jimmy and Sami.
Well, so like when it all ends is what I'm saying. Like there'll be characters say, we did this because we had to end the bloodline. Or like its ending will subsequently create, if this system is still functioning as well as it is, will subsequently create a bunch of new stuff of, well, that's why this had to end, or that's why we'd feed. Or then simultaneously there'll be characters being like, I didn't want that to end. That was the greatest time in my life. And so, you know, it's like, it's ingrained now that even when it's gone, you can use it. So I don't personally think they are afraid of ending it. I just think they're
terrified.
From a financial point of view, why would they? Obviously, it's like never wanting to admit that Hulkamania was over. That's, you know, like
a Roman shirt with the word yeet written on it now. So
I spotted that and looked. A little speech bubble.
No, they're terrified of ending this. They are absolutely terrified of ending
That's
it.
like historically a wrestling.
I don't even think it's crossed their minds. Like they must have like extra meetings about, right, how do we keep this going?
But you would.
No, you would.
It's money, isn't it? You know, like
I think they've done a really good job with Solo.
What about me? They should think about me.
I think they've done a really good job with Solo recently. I liked more of him again on this show later.
He's a bit of you now.
Yeah,
I mean, he always was.
I've been defending that boy, and I'm proud that he's come through in the end. And with more bollocks a little bit later on. But yeah, I like the fifth man stuff and the Seth stuff that we'll get to. And I also like Wade Barrett saying, you better not be talking about Kevin Owens.
Did you?
When Sami Zayn's talking about a fifth man.
Well, again, and they didn't even need to I thought it was quite nice that they mentioned it outright with Sami Zayn and then didn't with Seth. So like they're letting you think about Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens because that's very possibly like a WrestleMania pitch, isn't it? At this point. So consider that one. What would Kevin Owens think about Sami Zayn right now, considering what he's doing at Randy Orton for a lesser infraction? But then they're a third friend, Seth Rollins, is like, if he does it, like, and he doesn't want to, he's actually holding on to that loyalty.
And I haven't seen this really reported anywhere, Sidge, but I saw an interview with Rhea Ripley talking about all this and sort of delving into, why it is that they can't find a fifth man. Apparently, she said regarding Roman Reigns, he's got no mates.
Yes! It's so funny. I love it.
He said that for you because now that's on Fed podcast. It's something.
Kofi versus Butch. Pete Dunne next. Kofi hits a dive, taken to a break early on, but Pete's in control.
Don't know how, because he's missing by a mile.
It's regressed.
Kingston comes back, double knee drop kick, frog splash to Dunne's back, gets a 2 count. Dunne comes back with a forearm as Kingston flies off the top. Kingston hits him with trouble in paradise, but Dunne spills out of the ring, and as he goes out to go after him, the ref holds him back. Woods just nails Dunne on the outside, completely takes him out, but Kofi's like, what are you doing that for? Woods is like, focus on winning the bloody match. And he sends Pete back into the ring, and commentary talks about how him arguing with Xavier is obviously wasting too much time, giving Dunne too much time to recover, and yes, when he gets back in there, Dunne hits him with a knee strike, and the bitter end for the 1-2-3 post-match. Woods is helping Kingston to the back. Get off me, says Kofi, because Xavier's constantly is in here saying, see, that's what happens when you focus on other people. You should look after yourself. And Woods tells him he's not focused as they walk up the ramp.
You knew the drama was okay, and again, they're performing it like they care about it, and that's all you can ask for from them. It's just, I'm done. I'm good. I know where they're at. Let's get to the celebration. On the match, my mind wandered in this match, as you want to do when you're watching a match as boring as this. And it's not just me, because I think it is almost criminal in 2024 to be having a match in buildings as hot as this one. It's hot fed. Look at the front row. There are people. The front row. There are people looking down at the phones while this match is on. And
It's like wrestling, mate.
It's well, yeah. But that to me, it's like, again, I don't care if these crowds are not asked about the body of the matches. Truthfully, I'm not bothered. However, you should at very least be bothered about the characters because there's so many of them that are over. It's on you, I think, at the moment, if you're not able to get over. If you're a man, I'm not going to sort of extend that to the women, but if you're a man and you're not over for whatever character traits you have been given, then back to the drawing board, off TV, because there are loads that are.
Yes.
They tried to make Butch happen in that Sheamus feud, and it did not take. Sheamus was like begging for the chance, and they weren't forthcoming. It didn't happen. It didn't work. Pete Dunne wasn't any more over as a result of that. It was a series of fine TV matches and nothing more.
So I would try with Trick getting it over, considering how popular he is. Yeah.
Get him gone and think of something else, or just don't feature him, because I'm not blaming Pete Dunne, but his involvement here is the source of the boredom. Like, he is just not an over character, and they're not trying new things to try and get him there. It was Butch on this week with R-Truth.
Aye, Jesus Christ, this is absolutely tedious, this. Do I blame Butch specifically? Maybe. Maybe he is just a bit dull. I've said all along, it's the weirdest happy lifelong relationship between Levesque and Pete Dunne, because Pete Dunne is not a WWE guy. WWE main roster crowds have never gravitated towards him on an individual solo basis, and he just, it's little wonder he does now a pretty bad, like actively bad interpretation of a style that this new WWE fan base just could not give a toss about. It's almost bleak. It's almost sad to watch. But in his defense, it is impossible, or sorry, for me anyway, and seemingly for the crowd, it was impossible to invest in this match on the basis of it being a match, because there are two things that could happen, and the crowd are basically waiting impatiently, really, for one of those two things. Option A is Xavier Woods effectively cheats on Kofi Kingston's behalf, and Kofi Kingston is pissed because he wants to do it the right way, whereas Xavier Woods is any means necessary. So option A is Xavier Woods successfully cheats on Kofi Kingston's behalf. Option B, and this is what happened, Xavier Woods attempts to do it, Kofi Kingston, no, not like this, and then in the process of the argument, loses. Why am I watching this? Like, if an 8-year-old could figure out that there's two finishers potentially, which one's it going to be, and more pertinently, can you not just get there, because this match is really actively bad on Pete Dunne. It's been isolated on X/Twitter. If you didn't catch it in the match, it was pretty hard not to, now that they don't cut.
Yeah, that was it. Now that
they don't cut everything to ribbons. He's trying to do some forearms into the old shoulder of Kofi Kingston, and he just misses by miles. And if you're Pete Dunne and your one thing is you hit hard and you can mangle some limbs and you're a bit hard-nosed and you're a brute technician and you don't really have any gaga or pizzazz or any razzmatazz out the ears, you have to do the thing you're actually good at. Well, it's the thing with Pete Dunne now. I know this is a weird way to approach the analysis of this specific match, but go with me. With Pete Dunne and what's happened to his wrestling and how he's been doing it for so long in a system that doesn't really value it or get it, if he, for whatever reason, is gone from WWE within a month, people might think, oh, get him in AEW. He can have matches with Daniel Garcia or whoever. I reckon if he goes to AEW in the next month, in this timeline that I'm creating for the purpose of making a point, I reckon he'd be actively bad. And I think it would take him ages to realize like what he's actually missing in his in-ring game. I mean, because there's no intent behind anything. He's just on autopilot. He knows, he realizes his lot. I think he's lost a lot. It's not just a case of pretty drab wrestler who's missed his peak and is not really relevant anymore, doing his stuff in front of an audience that doesn't care. I think he's been in that system that doesn't value him for so long. I think he's actively regressed. It's not just wrong guy, wrong company. I think he's actively regressed as a pro wrestler.
He's agenting as well, so he already might have like 1 foot out the ring, as it were, if you think so. There's a long term, like William Regal as a mentor, kind of in every respect, in terms of getting a job in the office prior to that, having really boring matches. Like, it's the sort of thing.
Pete Dunne was really exciting once, though.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Pete Dunne has actually worked some incredible matches.
Yeah,
2017, one of the top 5 match of the year against Tyler Bate at the Chicago Takeover.
Into the you're right. The comparison does not work, but otherwise, like, he's increasingly looking like, and this speaks to the relationship he has with Triple H. Obviously, he's like 30 maybe, and he's getting to produce and he's getting to agent. It's an experience outside of matches that could get him a job for longer, that involves less falling on your back. I get it if you're Pete Dunne, but I then make that choice and step back a bit from the matches. Or if they're saying, I'll throw you out there for 10 drab minutes on Raw, maybe like, I could maybe produce you 10 more entertaining ones with him over there. I don't know, but it just, I've thought this about Pete Dunne for the longest time and I feel guilt over it. He bores me all the time, and he's a guy I want so desperately to love. Yeah,
he speaks volumes. If people were here saying, I wish Chad go back to Shorty G. Like,
I wish he was still playing Butch.
Yeah.
Peaky Blinders Barra Boy for Sheamus. Yeah, you had something.
We go to the Judgment Day Clubhouse. Liv Morgan's excited to win the tag titles later. Finn Balor's all pissed off, though, because she says, we'll have it all. And he says, we wouldn't have the world title. Confronts Dom about losing it last week. Says now Priest 1-1 win away from being champion again. And Dom says, look, nobody had my back last week. Bronson Reed got involved. Where were you? And Balor says, I was just doing what Morgan suggested and focusing on the tag titles. And he said, look, I came close to winning the world title than you have in a long old time, mate. And Balor gets in his face. Says, say that again. And they all calm it all down. Morgan calls him a family. And he says, yeah, if we are a family, in fact, why don't you and Carlito, Dom, step in and face the War Raiders next week? And Dom leaves to make the match official.
Bad executive producing from the game Triple H, this, because on the same show where you are telling like a worthwhile story between the New Day, and the central plot point around War Games is that these two opposing bloodlines need to find partners and are struggling to do so on account of the crimes that they have already committed on various roster members. You then have, and I thought this was a needless element to the opening segment, and I'm bringing it up here because I think it's more salient, the Ludwig Kaiser Gunther dissension was like an unnecessary add-on when you kind of had it with, I get why, like it's Gunther's the only one not talking about his vulnerability while the other two are, but you didn't need it.
It's a runner as well, though.
It is with them two, but this certainly wasn't the week to focus it, because you've already got dissension in the ranks.
Levesque only knows how to tell one story.
Which I disagree with, but he does love ones to the point where you're beaten over the head with it. Like, he does this to himself in a way, because there's no need this week specifically to do Judgment Day attention. You know, especially the Street Trash version where they're all little bastards. That's sort of the point. If you're not being a little bastard, you're doing Street Trash wrong. So don't all of a sudden like come at me with, well, I'm the honourable corner of Street Trash, in fact. That's like, there is no honour among thieves. That's your bit. You can be little arseholes to each other and stab each other in the front as well as the back, and it not be all of a sudden Finn Balor, like, is Finn Balor as the Prince found his heart? You know, I don't care. Like, you're all bastards.
I hope not.
That's what made you great. Too much of it on this show. And again, it's bad enough when you've got these like repeat things happening on. I don't like it, and there's no need for it. You only ever got 2 to 3 hours to fill. You can manage with different. We had it on Collision yesterday, the 3B psycho knee finisher.
Yeah,
that was weird. Like, just don't do it. And of all the weeks, they focused on like, of all the weeks to focus on, you bloody loves dissension in the ranks, does Triple H. Don't do it when your War Games main event is centered around it. That's where you need to put your dissension in the ranks bit.
They show UFC star Jamal Hill in the crowd. You got Alex Pereira on SmackDown, didn't you, as well?
These people mean nothing to me, but it's the same company now, isn't it? So
I saw the bit of him. Like, hey, look, it's Alex Pereira having a great time. It's like one of the most terrifying men in all of sports. That I'll show you some clips afterwards. He is Nicholas. Oh my God!
Has he met Uncle Howdy?
Big Bronson Reed comes out. Says Seth.
Oh, big Bronson Reed. Yeah, he's fake guys in the front row. Bronson Reed's big.
He says, look, Seth's a hell of a competitor. He proved that by getting the win at Crown Jewel, but I'm not a competitor. I'm a monster. Last week I took him out and Priest and Sheamus. I'll take anyone out who stands in the way for me. He calls out Seth Rollins. Out comes Seth. We'll sing the song.
No, they're all singing it.
Yeah, that's what got him over.
But he doesn't. He comes out of the mic, but doesn't use it. He just runs down and fights Reed. Reed takes him out with a body block, but then Rollins posts him on the outside. Reed super kicks him onto the announce table and sets up to tsunami him off the barricade, but Rollins flies off that, tackles him. They keep brawling. Security separates them. They separate them in the ring. And Rollins realizes he can't get to him that way, so he slides out the ring and runs round, but security stops him, and Bronson Reed hits a suicide dive onto everyone not named Seth Rollins, basically, and then Pierce and all the other officials run down to separate them. Big brawl takes us into the commercial break, and after that, we'll get to the Sami Zayn thing in a second. We'll talk about that separately. After that, he's arguing with Postman Pierce, demanding a rematch, and it's set for next week.
A good brawl, against the odds a little bit, considering that they've had the match. I did like Bronson Reed's running last week, but you kind of think you're done with it. And I thought this was quite an effective brawl and good booking, I think. I don't need this to go any further than next week's Raw. But if what you're seeing here is kind of lifting Seth out and potentially lifting Bronson Reed out, come to think of it, like I think this is quite a nice booking of like how to keep the Bronson Reed tightrope momentum thing going.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's going to be it for the rest of it. You say about the bloodline never ends. Nor will Bronson Reed's attempts to stay over. It feels like on any given week, well, that was your run. See you later, Bronson. But yeah, I enjoyed this.
I don't like him as a promo. Don't believe him. Just do not believe him when he says he's a monster.
He's a nice fella, probably, and he comes across like a
No. Worse than that. He comes across as like a really gotten to loser. Yeah,
you mean the tweet stuff?
Oh my god, look at the size of you, man.
I thought you just meant how like mild-mannered he was in his demeanour, because he is kind of like...
he's worst of both worlds. He doesn't have any bass in his voice, doesn't have like a really mean face. I don't think he's like seen stuff. I think he's just playing a monster. He's playing a monster. Seth Rollins has been playing a wrestler his entire career, and Adam Pearce, you goddamn pissed off, but you got the goddamn match. It's like, God... He's rubbish, Adam Pearce. I don't believe any of this. I like the little spot where Bronson Reed makes 4 indie guys go splat. I mean, that looks fun. They're good at the action set pieces of Bronson Reed. I don't believe any of these characters. I feel like they're all just playing wrestler or playing authority figure. Like I just don't get any kind of, I don't know.
There's been a couple of these this year with these brawls. Dare I say it? Like it's something that like AEW had and lost. WWE just said, well, we'll take that, thanks very much.
They've done a lot of that.
That environmental stuff, like, I can't get you, but this actually is a clear path. So I use that instead of like, I could just run through this bit of the ring and get you quicker. You see a lot of that in these brawls now, which obviously gives them a bit of reality and a bit of energy. And it used to kind of be a staple of those AEW brawls. It was like the pulling down of so many of like...
Kenny Omega was outstanding at constructing those things.
I always loved the, I can't remember what the go-home show
Matthew
was.
Jackson.
Yeah, the books like...
Full Gear 2019.
Well, just because we said we're going to fight on the weekend doesn't mean I can get you now. I'll do it now. Just because the show's going off the air, I don't care. Yeah.
It does massively help the brawls because you yourself have gotten so used to these invisible obstacles. That, wait a minute, how's he done that? Well, because he's just put one foot in front of the other. Like you can do whatever you want.
But yeah, Rollins after the break was chatting with Pierce, and then Sami Zayn approaches him and says, "Look, I know you've got some bad blood with Roman Reigns. You think?" And the bloodline, he says, "Look, I did too, but I've got a family bond with them that never went away. You know, think about you too. No matter what happened between you and Roman, you're still brothers, as we are." And I looked up and down the roster. There's no one else. We want you as our 5th man. Rollins just says, "You out of your damn mind," which gets a nice crowd reaction. I know who Roman Reigns really is. I'm shocked anybody would stand next to him, especially you, Sami. You have to be blind to see, not to see that he's using you again. I appreciate the offer, but no.
Didn't see the request for Seth Rollins coming. Should have done. Love it. Love the potential of how it could play out. Tweeted something today about what if he ends up winning the match for the good guys. The ultimate sacrifice, yet again, like it at WrestleMania, this time for Roman Reigns. Again, are you joking? Like arms raised in the ring at WarGames. This again. Like, but Sidgwick introduced me to the phrase idiot plot when we talk about the bloodline. And I've realised their idiot plot cheat code is that like is Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Because
it's always good when he's involved.
Like nobody could go up to Seth Rollins.
Or it's only good when he's involved.
Like, no other character has the gravitas or the credit in the bank with the audience or the believability for that matter to go and ask, hey, Seth Rollins, will you give Roman Reigns a hand? Sami Zayn is that one to do it.
You know the guy who basically cost you the World Heavyweight title and then crippled you on night 2 of WrestleMania. You remember that one? Yeah.
Like your whole careers, your whole lives, like he is the secret ingredient for so many of these things making sense. And part of that is good fortune on WWE's side. Part of it is good writing, is good character development, is how much they all believe in what they're doing and what they're selling you, because this wouldn't have been something I would have considered. You need Sami Zayn in the mix to make it so, and he's just done it. And I'll say it again because I just like thinking about it. If of all people, Sami Zayn is the person to convince, of all people, Seth Rollins to do this favour, somewhere Kevin Owens is like smashing his house up. And that's...
Are you joking?
Yeah. Both here. And for what Kevin Owens is currently doing in his own character, for the benefit of the Orton stuff, amazing. This is brilliant, WrestleMania-worthy stuff that you're doing when? Survivor Series time, when you're supposed to do it. As soon as they came on screen, I loved it. Loved that.
I want him to join just for the shot of, I don't know how the match plays out in terms of how you're sending people out. Roman and Seth stood in a cage together. It's a bit awkward, this, isn't it?
I thought this was really, really strong. Even if it leads nowhere, it's still good character building. It's still, I don't know, it just felt like, you would ask him, you would say no for this reason. If they're still doing this, how sure can we be that Roman's changed? He hasn't really explicitly apologized. It was a good move to have Seth Rollins, of all people, say, he couldn't say it out loud, but I dyed my hair blonde in the middle of the show.
Yes.
And I didn't get a moving on anyone. I made myself. I put my little flat jacket on. I made people think, oh God, the other interesting member of the Shield, Jon Moxley, might come out. I had a bad night. I think Seth Rollins, he had a good night earlier in the show against Drew, but that main event, that cemented me as the uninteresting, blandly handsome member of the Shield who's the B+ player, realistically, who is so enthralled to this WWE system that I couldn't even ask to punch someone in the face. At least punch Jimmy Uso, for Christ's sake, before he gets speared off the ramp. Do something before you are the Shield. So just added a bit of, look what I've done. There's no way I can possibly... I look like an arsehole out there. And now you're asking me to team with them. I thought, if it goes nowhere... it's a good idea to just remind people Roman probably does need to apologize and you need to do harder with his babyface turn. And that made me think, maybe they will do harder work. If, in fact, it is going to be Seth and not who it might be teased later, how do they possibly reconcile those two? Good, strong progressions here.
I hope he joins just because like you say, Sami's the only one who can even broach this conversation. Seth would give him the time of day for this. I really want him to just be like, fine, I'll do it on for you, Sami, or whatever, or just because I really despise Solo or something like that. And then Sami's like, hey, come on, yeah, let's do the fist. Let's do the fist all in together. I just love it.
I'll do it on one condition. What was that? That WrestleMania 40 celebration at the end, which I always thought, that's really great character work, whether you've just done that on the fly or whatever. Obviously, Seth selling the leg throughout. You've got the celebration and stuff. All the wrestlers go to leave.
He's legitimately injured, wasn't he?
Yeah. So you've got all the wrestlers going to leave. It was as much for the people in the building staying still very, very bitter end because you don't want to leave, or filming it for things like filming for like the WrestleMania documentary, or for all the footage that makes it onto YouTube.
If you told me, sorry. No, carry on.
If you go back and look at it, when they're all finally starting to scatter out, Seth Rollins is shoot injured and selling, and it's Kevin Owens arm in arm with him, carrying him at the back, doing their sort of. They're weird. We're best friends. I love that. My best friend Kevin Owens. He's the one helping him. So there's a bit of footage to play on it. It's look how you were ready to half kill yourself to be the Shield against that guy. I would have carried you any way you wanted that night for what you did. And now this.
Yeah. Right. You've told the public that you were the literal, other than staff production wrestlers, you were the last punter in the stadium at WrestleMania 40.
Yes.
Now, if you told me this and thought you were just saying, well, everyone's getting an Uber right now, we just hang out.
Elements of that were true.
Well, that's okay then, Jesus.
Elements.
Did he get an Uber straight away after?
No, we then went to...
We definitely didn't, did we? You remember?
That gorgeous,
I do, man.
That gorgeous stadium, it had that thing where like the spiral staircase that was just made up for one corner of the building. It had like amazing views of Philadelphia. So like went to there because then the security weren't sort of paying any attention. So you could just stand there and enjoy how nice Philadelphia looked and all the traffic and all that sort of stuff. Looked like the top-down shot of the Rock's Titantron. You just see all the traffic moving really fast. And then we noticed the like stadium merchandise shop was pretty quiet. So we were able to go get the T-shirts because it'd been mega busy every time we tried.
Yeah.
Like, so that was there's our window of opportunity.
Yous won't get it in Vegas because it's so central and you could just walk back to wherever you're going. The getting home from, it was perfect in New Orleans because it's just next to the French Quarter. So you just walk back to your digs. The idea of going to one of these massive stadium events and having to navigate city traffic or going between like state lines from WrestleMania 30 and WrestleMania 40, they could do, I don't know, Kenny Omega versus whoever, and I don't want to go home. Getting the Ubers and the traffic and all, it's just hell on earth to me. Hell on earth. It's like my least favorite thing, being stuck between two places where I just really want to go to the other place. Oh God, never again. Never again. Ever. Awful. I remember taking a video of just the chaos, the beeping. Remember, like, beep, 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 get out the f***ing way, you J. Brown. I'm trying to get f***ing home.
I'm driving here.
I'm f***ing driving here, you asshole. Like, that's all you get. Every single car, that was the exact things they were saying. Beep, 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 beep. Come on, asshole. What are you doing? You're sitting on your ass. I'm trying to get on, beep.
Get your dried stick.
It's like the most oppressive, busy, aggy, like city chaos. I just got my phone and went record video for a minute as I was hating my life, with the idea being that if I'm ever at home, and I've done this a couple of times, and like, you know, it can get a bit intense, like activities like before bedtime and all the rest of it. I'd just play that video. Thank I'm not there. This is fine. This.
So I'd keep that in my phone as like, I cannot wait to be back. Like, because I just think they do traffic. I just think they do traffic jams better over there. Massive cars, freeways, like the angrier people. Like, it's well. I'm in traffic there, but I'm there. Yeah. So better be there than at home. Traffic jams at home can kiss my ass.
But the stupid roads as well.
They're amazing. They're so big. And
it's like and 8 lanes. I'm like, for whatever reason, from lane 1 to lane 8, it just feels like this most insurmountable distance. Whereas like it's the size of like somewhere I walk, or it's just it's too big, it's too intense. I don't like it.
Holy shit, an 18-wheeler! You don't get that on the friggin' A19, do you? Like,
you do.
No, they're not interesting.
I'll still never forget, and Nicholas will remember this, 35, like you were talking about there. Jules going, don't worry, I've got us an Uber sorted. And you're like, you can track it. It's one of the first times you could like track it, I seem to remember. Why is he heading to New York? Like, he's heading the wrong direction. And he rings him, and the bloke's doing the whole, I'm just finding a good place to turn around. Like, bollocks, I'm not going to there. I'll just get fares in New York. Thank you very much. Jules said something, I can't remember what the bloke's name is, but like, his name is Steve or whatever. He's like, don't screw me on this, Steve. Just bye. Cancelled. Yeah, we're here for another 3 hours.
No, Jules is probably listening, you know.
Yes, shout out to Jules.
Don't screw me on this, Jules.
Don't screw me on this, Jules.
Moving on, we got Damien Priest versus Ludwig Kaiser. Priest goes into the post shoulder first, goes to the break, but he comes back after the break, dominates obviously. Kaiser gets in some offense. He hit a big lariat just before the finish, but obviously Priest catches him with a South of Heaven choke slam to get the 1-2-3, and Gunther comes out afterwards and looks pensive.
Thank you for not going long. That's what I said. I stood up and went, thank you, sirs.
Big thank you, sir. I don't want another. Big wrestler runs into the post.
Yeah,
like
kind of by the numbers. This one,
like the promo was better. Like just leave it a week. Do this match next week.
This was the personification of you thing you always talk about. Well,
if Damien Priest can get past Ludwig Kaiser, then that means he's got the momentum and the form to beat Gunther. I will tell you, though, was it Barrett on commentary?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good, I do think Wade Barrett's good. I don't think he's the best, mate. I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth. But
Who's the best right now?
Well, commentator in wrestling. I don't like how he's entered that what's going on mode of like, well, what could that wrestler possibly want? Like playing dumb to make the events seem like. I just like the warmth still of Tony Schiavone. Still. In terms of actual commentators, I don't think there's a single good one, man. I'm
an overnight Joe Testa.
And I watch all of the wrestling.
Yeah.
I watch WWE and AEW. Right? No, Charlton's got insight and he can really tell the story, but dickhead. He's not a TV commentator, is he? No. He's more like, he could be a pundit.
Yeah.
He'd have the best New Japan podcast.
100%. Yeah.
He'd have he's written the books and all the rest of it.
Unbelievable grasp of history and
context. He's great
Amazing.
for that.
Amazing.
Not necessarily the most pleasant listen.
No, just not a good commentator, I don't think.
No. There's a craft. I don't think he gets it. And again, I've watched New Japan for 3 years. He could have just turned into Bobby Heenan for all I know. 1998 Jim Ross. I don't know. There's not a single commentator that enhances my enjoyment of a match. I mostly just put up with them. Really, I do. But Wade Barrett, going back to that, did say, this is a good thing for Gunther that he's wrestling Ludwig Kaiser because this is a new Damien Priest. He's basically saying he's turned babyface now. That's what he's saying it, but not.
Yeah.
This is a new Damien Priest from the wrestler at SummerSlam. He said he did the euphemism of something like, he's broken out on his own. It's a new Damien Priest. Basically, he's saying, in a worked way, how can he deal with that babyface moveset that Gunther's not familiar with? You send Ludwig Kaiser out there as henchman to learn and give him some intel afterwards. I was like, there's a bloody actual reason why this match has taken place in the minds of some of the characters involved, which I quite enjoyed way more than the bland action. I will say Damien Priest usually does nothing for me. He's got this sort of he does these kicks and that. Fair enough for getting his legs up high as he does.
Yeah.
He kind of moves in the same way Mac does karate. Do you know what I mean with these kicks? It's it's not right, is it? He's just, he doesn't look right, like a killer. He doesn't look like he's a practiced martial artist. Yeah. He looks like he's playing at it. But he did a bit of a Scott Hall. Like the Scott Hall is absolutely. If you want to clothesline someone out the ring, you call up Scott Hall. He's the best at it in the world. There was one that it wasn't a blemish on the great Scott Hall's Larry to the outside, so I appreciate
Priest
that.
would like that. Priest would appreciate that.
They quite rightly congratulated The Rock on being GQ's Entertainer of the Year.
Nicholas. Do you still subscribe to GQ? No, I was going to say, because would this have been your cancelled order? Yeah. A 10-page spread about him pissing in bottles and wearing big shoes.
God, I'd love to have it.
He probably, in all of wrestling, he entertained me the most this year, probably, with his swearing.
Yeah.
We need to get that read one day.
Danielson's work, some of Swerve and Ospreay's work, Rock swearing. That's my Mount Rushmore of 2024.
Just a swear word with The Rock's face, yeah.
We should do that. Production meeting. We should have a Mount Rushmore of 2024. Anything.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. They show a clip from Speed of Sheamus and Bron Breakker going to a time limit draw and get into a brawl afterwards. Kathy Kelly interviews Bron Breakker, says he wanted to expand his trophy case and he'd have the Speed title if it wasn't for that ugly idiot bonehead Sheamus, who obviously he's behind me, isn't he?
Well, honestly, you could say, you know who I hate, really? You know who I hate the most? It's George Hackenschmidt. And then because it's wrestling, the long dead George Hackenschmidt would just appear right next to him. That's how it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it is actually how it works.
Yeah. He calls Bron disrespectful, says, I've been here for 15 years, you've been here for 15 bloody minutes, mate. But you reminded me of me when I was younger and talked about being arrogant and beating John Cena and putting his foot on his chest and all that. Sheamus says, have you got a set big enough to put the IC title on the line? Bron basically says, I wasn't listening to you. But if you want a title shot, I'd love to beat your old ass. And Sheamus says he's shining up that belt. I'm taking it home next week. And he leaves. And Jimmy Uso approaches Bron afterwards and asks if he got a second to speak. And Bron says, yes.
Oh my God.
Could get Bron Breakker versus Jacob Fatu.
Sure could.
And if they interact with each other and do moves on each other for like 3 minutes of a 50-minute match, I don't know what the percentage is.
Fifth.
No, 3% of 50 minutes.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It would still be the best War Games match for that increment alone.
Oh, 50. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Lift out.
You were correct the first time.
Lift out the 2 middle set of ropes.
That was for your year one math.
Have Bron run the long ring. Just get rid of the middle ropes entirely. Just have Bron run that like double length ring.
Oh,
40 foot.
He could probably hurdle the middle ropes, couldn't he?
That's leap. Yes, leap. It's such a wind up that he leaps over it, and it's like Jacob with flying clothesline or something.
I love the idea of that
potential.
interaction. I do think though, the Hammer, they did a good job with this as well. Like character Bible, as you always talk about. Is the Fed still hot as well?
It's boiling hot.
That's another thing you talk about. They've been at this. Sheamus really wants to do he wants to complete the set, the Intercontinental. I feel like there should be more of a ceremony whenever he's in that mix. Like I know they've built it for like a little while, but I know this felt sudden.
Yeah,
I'd have given it a 2 or 3 week in advance deal.
It's just not when he wins, is it?
I know, but you want him to
each
think.
time.
You want to think that he's going to win, so they should create that illusion. It's a work, mate.
No,
That's what
I
they
agree.
should do.
You want to think each time he's going for the belt, this is the one where
Exactly.
he wins,
So
he's not getting it
he's
done
not
here,
winning
so,
this one, so they should have made it so.
Speed is like, they didn't even get to it, but speed is quite a nice way to build these two up, but they just seem to get so into themselves, being like, I'm going to kick an ass.
I got a big cock. Is your cock big enough to have to fight with me,
They got so into that. The speed story is quite a good one. It's like, I'm supposed to be this old dinosaur and you're this young guy that goes 100 miles an hour, and in a match suiting you, you couldn't beat me. But instead it just got into like, I'm going to kick your fucking ass. And like they sort of lost that thread a little bit, and that wasn't a bad idea.
I quite like the other thread, to be
It was
fair.
good too. Yeah, they got good.
I quite like that other thread.
Bron Breakker's
brings
kind of
this
got jock energy to others. And
Yes,
it's like,
he's got chemistry with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Bron Breakker. I was like, you know what time is it now?
1:45.
I thought it was getting, I'm hungry, mate. Do you think we could eat on one of these podcasts one of these days?
Hey, you never know. Ask the right people.
Like a nice just sit down.
Oh, that'd be
dinner.
lovely, wouldn't it?
Like
Three
a
of
sort
us.
of a private sort of, just a candid look at our lives, just with a bit of, do you reckon we could do that one of these days?
Maybe.
sounds fantastic.
Speaking of
Just shooting the old breeze. I think people would like that.
Yeah. Speaking of fantastic. Speaking of fantastic.
Oh my God.
The Miz is walking backstage. Here it is, the best bit of the show, baby.
No.
Miz
Excuse me?
this is Karrion Kross specifically. I'll say that. Miz, thank God you're alive. So what happened? Says Karrion Kross. And Miz is like, look, I'm going to see Postman Pierce. I want to leave of absence. I just, oh boy. You're not doing that, says Karrion Kross, because you've given me nothing. He wants information about the Wyatts. Miz says, look, this is bigger than you. I've got to think about my family. I'm a changed man. I've settled everything with the Wyatts. They let me go because I've changed my ways. I'm a better man now. And Kross is like, you think I'm just going to let you and them get away with all this? What about Paul Ellering? Like my family. Remember when I said I'd break your legs? Well, get him, boys. AOP grab him, chuck him through the...
Get him, boys.
Bust him open. Somebody's bleeding from his eye by the time he gets in the ring. He grabs a mic and says, where are the Wyatt Six? And obviously the lights come down and there's the Wyatt Six. And there's a face-off with the Final Testament. And suddenly Miz reappears and nails Eric Rowan in the back with a chair. It's a setup. And Final Testament and Miz take out the Wyatts. Scarlett takes out Nikki Cross, obviously. Miz just wears out the chair on Eric Rowan and hits a skull-crushing finale onto it. Do the AOP, pick them up and bang them into each other and chuck them down. And Cross hits Howdy with his finisher. I've written here, the Final Testament stands tall and Miz and Cross hug, but thankfully Hamflet has sent me the quote. You're the man! No, you're the man! I love you! Between Karrion Kross and the Miz.
He's
Oh my
crossed
God.
out. I love you. Picks him up and hugs him.
And Uncle Howdy's laughing, regardless of what happened as they leave. But it's not about him, it's about Karrion Kross being the best.
You talk more about WWE than me.
Yeah,
You
love
go
this.
first.
Love this. Didn't like Uncle Howdy laughing at the end because just sell once, it's fine. You're probably going to win in the end. You're dangerous people. We know this now. You don't.
I don't. I sure don't, mate.
You don't have to like literally get the last laugh every single time because you're Uncle Howdy. Like, yeah. Otherwise, no notes. The Miz seemingly getting busted open as a shoot when they threw him that hard onto the ground is pretty funny. Bleeding out his eye. The chemistry between him and Cross at the reveal was lush. Pissed myself. And of all the sort of the beatdown, probably the best bit was Scarlett throwing Nikki Cross onto the floor and her just taking that flip bump.
Hey!
So yeah, into this.
I'll tell you what, mate. You take this whole thing and you take out Karrion Kross's patter. We're talking a disaster here, realistically, in terms of the Wyatt 6 now over the Aura were. I think they've really bungled that act up.
You think?
I mean, yeah, mate.
Based on this, just this alone?
Just the fact that they were off TV for about 2 months, that clearly gives you the idea that they don't believe in the act that much. And
Nobody believes in the act. You've just got to try and keep them over for the buildings every now and then, ain't you? Like, they're not going to friggin' main event WrestleMania with this shit. It's just about like getting a pop on the night and selling some shirts, isn't it? Like, they can absolutely keep them as this.
Am I the chief executive of the merchandise division? Am I meant to care about that?
Bit of undercard nonsense is good for the range of the show. None of this is troubling the proper stuff.
I think I know what range is, mate.
Well,
I think
then
I
you
use
should
that
be
word.
able
I think
to-
I use that word 3 times
Well,
a week when I liked AEW.
I was going to say, you should be able to appreciate this then, mate. Like, it's
Because it sucks. It's a good version, a bad version of everything, mate. And this is a bad version of mid-card, undercard range.
Okay.
It was, honestly, in spite of myself,
Yeah.
I thought the Wyatt 6 going up against American-made, even though I prefer American-made as wrestlers, and that's good business. And then they did the Plunder Brawl, and that was real good business. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, this is kind of over. They're in the mix. It's like sort of a nice, candid look at these failed wrestlers, realistically, that they all were. And then it's like, oh my God, they've basically decided, we'll just create moot of this. We'll develop alter egos and get over using that. It's like they've tethered it all to reality. This stinks. Like, they didn't really get a reaction that much. And I tell you what, the blocking of this was pathetic as well. I was absolutely sure as hell that when the Miz got that steel chair and went, well, it's not the Miz, it doesn't go boom. That's Wade Barrett for a start. But, you know, I thought his chair shots looked all right. Yeah. I thought for sure when he was going to go bang and Eric Rowan's back, that Eric Rowan was just going to go, head tilt, no sell. What are you doing? Don't sell for a Miz chair shot. You're a giant. You know what I mean? Like, don't get felled on shot one. But as a serious salient point here, if they really cared about the aura of this act, it should take a while to kick their ass. Like Eric Rowan should take that and went, you are trying to hit me with a chair. I'm this huge badass who's, it's a stretch of the imagination, but I've developed a persona that makes me even harder. He's getting one chair shot of the Miz. I don't know why it's the beast. Don't know why it's the beast more us, but apparently he is.
It's because you were thinking about it because of the neck tilt.
They have genuinely failed the Wyatt 6 in their badass theater with how easily they were knocked down. If you want to,
all part of the plan.
Well, who's zooming who here? Because
that wasn't part of the plan.
It wasn't.
I did.
And I'll tell you what. So it all happens, and I think I know why they've picked Redbeard, Rowan. It's easier for AOP to lift up Loomis and Gacy for the double powerbomb collider thing, whatever. I mean, he could just rearrange the parts mid-brawl, pair off with a different partner during it, and then Uncle Howdy laughing. It's like, you are not unhinged, unbalanced, like crazy. You're none of these things. I do not believe you one bit. I think if you look where they were, I was kind of on board with this. Not my thing at all. Now it's like laughing stock, and you can hear red piss on can. So that is my counter argument, mate.
Well, mate, I just think the getting the heat on them now is the way to
The
get
heat.
Well, there was no heat.
You're saying words. There's no heat.
The attempt to get the heat on them was to actually make this match mean more than nothing. They're going to beat Final Fantasy.
That's what I want, mate. In my life, more than nothing.
I don't mind. There's a bit of a little open
God,
skin.
now I've seen your food.
A little bit, there you go. Yeah. This is a nice bit of a dry starter before a relatively dry but slightly wetter main, and then some great dessert. Well, yeah, because the tinned pork comes with that brine.
Yeah, we talked about. I've told you about this, Sid. We talked
Peck
about
pork.
Peck pork.
Oh, I don't want to hear it,
Ventos
man. I don't want to
pies.
hear it.
Nicholas taught me about it. I'd never heard of it.
I did various pops from Karrion Kross throughout this.
I think it's great. I'm amused and entertained by Karrion Kross, earnestly.
I forgot to mention one bit because he laughs at the end when he's had his ass handed to him, but he also he makes wham with the chair shot to Eric Rowan, and Uncle Howdy turns around, sees this, and sort of still maniacally laughs. There's I watched it again this morning because there's a bit where Karrion Kross goes. And he goes, "Oh, I'll just punch you in the face, actually." That's a simple solution. It's just
Karrion Kross is very, very fun. I thought this is very, very poor on the whole.
Did it scare you? Was it spooky at all?
I tell you what, though, like, there's something about that Nikki Cross, she kind of looks like she's like a horror movie like. And there's a chill in the air when she's on screen.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that now because it's now time for the Raw Riddle.
Raw Riddle gives me the creeps, man.
Bit of a different one this week because I wasn't on the preview, so it's not my riddle.
No, you can help Sige out with this one, though.
Yeah, no, I was genuinely bamboozled this. My noggin didn't know what to make of
It
it.
did not. Somebody has guessed this in the DMs, by the way, which I will reveal after the fact. But you might get it yourself. I am taken from a mind.
You did give the name of the website, mate.
Oh, yeah.
I just put my
I didn't think about this myself. I got it from. I'm not like as creative as you. I got it from a website.
what?
Yeah, I know.
Lazy.
Sorry.
I'm gonna put my thinking cap on. Right, ready?
I'm taken from a mine and shut up in a wooden case from which I'm never released, and yet I'm used by almost every person.
Taken from a mime.
A mine.
Taken from a mine, shut
Yeah.
up in a wooden case.
Yeah. From which I'm never released, and yet I am used by almost every person. What am I?
So what are in mines?
Diamonds.
Canaries.
Yeah.
Cool.
Coal. Used by every person. Money is. I think it's money related, but then a wooden case.
Shut up in a wooden case from which I'm never released.
It's tricky, and this is the master of riddles, and I'm struggling with this.
Master of riddles.
They call me the master of riddles.
Just thinking of a stage call you do, like Lord of the Rings or something. Master of riddles.
Me with just a question mark t-shirt on.
I mean, I don't know this.
Shut up. Nicholas, you any ideas with this? No? I'm shut up. Just do it one more time, sorry.
I'm taken from a mine and shut up in a... I'm thinking about the mime now. I'm taken from a mine and shut up in a wooden case from which I'm never released, and yet I am used by almost every person. What am I?
Almost every person, right? That would be like... Almost.
I wouldn't dwell on that.
All right, okay.
Wooden case.
But is it different to every person?
Not really. They've added that just to fluff it up a little bit. There's...
No idea. You've overtaxed our noggins.
It's pencil lead.
What?
Lead in a pencil that has been mined and put in a
Wooden
pencil.
case of which it is never released, Sige.
Well,
Because it's lead within a pencil.
Yeah, but it kind of is, though, because you sharpen it, and bit by bit, it does get released. That's the worst riddle I've heard in my life. You do release it. What do you sharpen it? You expose it and release it.
Becomes something else when it's released, isn't it? It's right.
Thank you, Nicholas.
No, it's not
Even
like that, it's
the
right.
process of writing releases it. The process of sharpening releases it.
No.
That's the worst riddle I've ever heard, and you should be ashamed of
No, I
yourself
think
for
it's
selecting
embarrassing
it.
you didn't get
Just
it,
wait
mate.
till next week. I'm running low, mate, so I'm not going to throw any stones here.
There's only 117 on the 117 riddles for kids page.
Who got it, by the way? On the DM?
The artist formerly known as Jimmy Blaze.
Hey.
Shout out.
Kathy Kelly approaches Seth Rollins for an interview, but he...
I'm honestly really pissed off.
You shouldn't. Look, you're a writer. When it comes out on the page, it's writing. It's not LED anymore. You're just embarrassed that you didn't get it. I get it.
I'm going to kick your ass when we get out of this. I'm going to kick your head in when we get out of the studio, mate. Just so you know.
It's nice doing a podcast like where you wind up with more with him for once, like because he's really baiting you today. I like this.
Yeah, because I like the Wyatt's final test.
Oh no, I thought more about the lead thing.
Oh, about right.
Bit
Yeah.
of both. He's really annoying. He's getting he's getting 2 knuckle sandwiches, one for the whites, one for the riddle.
That, like one that does really well on YouTube, the Rob Van Dam pick a hand.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Shawn Michaels impression.
Rollins doesn't answer Kelly's questions. Instead, turns his attentions to Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, who are there in the parking lot. Tama and Tonga are in the SUV. We're looking on. And Sikoa says, look, we both hate Roman Reigns. Why don't you join our gang, basically, and take him out? And Solo's face. Rollins says...
Seth Rollins pops me here. I can't believe it.
The next time we're in the same ring, I'm going to stomp Roman Reigns' head into the ground. And Solo does this. Ooh. It's great. Sikoa likes the sound of that, but Rollins says, but I'd never join forces with a wannabe Roman Reigns. And Jacob Fatu's going to get him, but Solo stops him and Rollins leaves.
Just Solo's hand movement as well. How he from like welcoming Seth and then like having to stop Jacob.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. He's adding just nonsense flair to his act, Solo Sikoa, all the time, and I really, really enjoy watching those little. Again, when he was person's lips, I like the sound of that. It's like just a cartoon. He's realised he's a total clown in this entire thing, and I like him a lot for that.
I just like the idea of Rollins just never forgetting he was my brother and he's still class. Like I still have respect for him. I'm not you, clown. Jacob Fatu. If they didn't sign Jacob Fatu, they'd be in deep trouble.
So good.
There's a sort of like contemporary version of an 80s manager wrestler vibe, isn't there? Because Solo is effectively at this point like Jacob's like Jimmy Hart or Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
This idiot is going to get his arse kicked from mouthing off, but he's got a serious monster that he can unleash on him.
And it gets to that point when Jacob Fatu's head gets turned by The Rock. Solo goes, he's not worth it, Jacob. Jacob's not even bothered. I say what you like about him. I don't care anymore.
Did you catch, so when Solo took his blazer off on SmackDown, selling the Bloodline, getting back together, did you see what he was wearing underneath the blazer? The black blazer. He was wearing a black roll neck and the chain. He was
I missed that.
cosplaying as that Rock.
Oh my God.
Main event time. Women's tag team titles on the line. Bianca and Jade versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. To take us to a break, Liv pulled Bianca down by the braid, and they end up outside. And there's
Just
almost
immediately, wasn't it? Yeah. Break and finish. Come on.
they end up
That's great. That's WWE for me. That's another break and finish. My kind of wrestling, actually.
Bianca and Jade almost collide. Stop themselves though, and Liv dives off the steps with a harsh-looking drop kick to take us to a break. When we come back, Jade's just chucking Liv all over the place. Torture rack, slam, cover. Raquel stops the pin. And then Jade and Raquel knock each other out with simultaneous big boots. And here comes Queen Noya and Tiffany Stella to get involved. Stratton distracts the ref. Jax gave Cargill a Samoan drop onto the edge of the ring apron, and Rodriguez hit an elbow drop, but just at the last second, Bianca breaks it up and saves the tag titles. And Naomi runs down to take out Stratton and Jax. Morgan gave Naomi a backstabber. Cargill boots Liv out of midair, knocks Raquel off the apron, and Belair gives Morgan a KOD for the 1-2-3. Nia Jax attacks the tag team champions post-match, but Io Sky runs down to make the save with a drop kick. She also takes out Stratton. Belair and Jade knock Raquel out of the ring, and then all the babyfaces work together to get rid of Nia Jax and stand tall as the show ends. Big indication that we are heading towards, as you mentioned, a women's WarGames match.
Yeah, for I was trying to say at the start, critical, but there were some positives. The actual booking of all of this, I thought it was some pretty decent overlap here. The tag match on SmackDown was a good bit of business, and it made the division feel a little bit alive, which you needed because you're introducing this US title as well. They brought that to Raw with just some pretty nice overlapping, I guess. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez getting figured into the title picture right around the time that Bianca and Jade have sort of found themselves in the way of Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. There's your reasons for all of that. Io Sky winning that title shot at just the right time, where she doesn't need to have the title shot right now, but she's suddenly in the picture because you need numbers, obviously. Which I hadn't really considered.
I was doing
thought about
DiCaprio point. Oh, wait a second, they're all that works.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with the way they've kind of brought these characters together. Again, it's a Triple H skill for a thing that I don't often need, which is his ability to like kind of collate these numbers. Oh, wouldn't you look at that? It's November, but he does quite a good job of doing it in a way that feels organic.
I can't remember much of this. The only thing, and I didn't watch it even that long ago. One of the things I do remember is like Liv Morgan was screaming about something. I think in celebration of a move she'd just done. And I was like, scale it back. It's just a little rudimentary TV main event you've got going on. Relax. I can't remember. Sorry.
The Bianca and Jade teasers have been good as well. They're not smashing you over the head with it or anything, but it's exciting to know that it is happening, and it's not just you're picking up a look or a comment and you're thinking, am I just fantasy booking this? No, it's happening.
No, it's happening. And I do like the idea as well. I was being facetious earlier, where it's not just this thing of, oh, well, tag teams break up, they'll have a match. You're being slowly led down that path, but it's not this New Day thing where it's like every single week there's like, wouldn't you just know it? Something's gotten their way. Nice celebration here. This is how it should be. Celebrate, bit of dissension, and then, oh no, hang on. It's just the longer this Xavier Kofi thing goes on, just use an example of how bad these things can go, is like, just have the conversation. Just have the conversation before there's another contrivance. I like so far really how this is unfolding. It just feels a little bit more sophisticated. Like it's not guaranteed to happen, because when you know it's guaranteed to happen, you're just at that point waiting for it to happen. They've handled this with care so far.
Let us know your thoughts on Raw in the comment section or on X at WhatCulture WWE. Watch, they can follow all three of us. You can follow Michael Hamflet at
Michael Hamflet,
or Michael Sidgwick at
I'm Sidgwick.
Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow our brilliant producer at It's Adam Nicholas. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, as I said. Make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts. We'll be back later on today to preview NXT. But for now, this has been the Raw review. My thanks to Hamflet Sidgwick. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you soon.